Welcome back to episode 3 of the 5-chapter rule. This time, the manga is Nozoma no Fushi no Bono Kensha, or The Unwanted Undead Adventurer for the English speakers. And if anyone does speak Japanese, I apologise for the butchering of the title. So, the brief summary we have for this one is 10 years ago, the bronze class adventurer Rent set his sights on becoming a mithril class adventurer. When he delves into the Water Moon dungeon, his luck takes a turn for the worst, and he becomes face to face with a legendary dragon, a monster he has no hopes of beating. That should have been the end of his story, but Rent miraculously awakens as a skeleton. Rent's dead set on returning to civilization, but that's no easy task when he can barely walk, let alone swing a sword. And even if he succeeds, will the people of Malt really welcome a monster with open arms? That was a different blurb than what I actually wrote in my notes, because I got one from the website and then I actually picked up the actual book. Quite a bit different. So, covering a little bit of the plot of the first 5 chapters, we do see him barely surviving by killing weak monsters, and then he comes across, running away from some other monsters, comes across the dragon, gets munched on, and then wakes up as a skeleton. And throughout the chapters, we see him progress and evolve into a ghoul, because he remembers a friend telling him that monsters evolve. So he tries to do that to see if he could become more human-like, so he could go to say. It's a relatively nice progression. They don't go through too slowly through the whole evolution thing. He's only a skeleton for, I think, like the first chapter or two.
Yeah, because it being translated from the light novel he probably remains a skeleton longer, and it goes through more of that sort of details.
So it's quite quick.
Oh, Karen, go on.
It's quite quick through that bit. But I think for the manga, it's all right pacing. Actually, we get enough of the struggle of that bit, and the problem is the early bit of him being a skeleton would be quite boring because he can't talk, so it would just be a grind session. So and one thing I do know, which is a bit odd in the story, is you get to like the chapter 3 bit. He's trying to communicate with someone, but can barely get words in edgeway because his throat's still not properly back to normal. It's still like a zombie kind of throat. But then suddenly he gets a point, and suddenly he goes from can barely talk to speaking perfectly normally, or with a bristled voice.
It probably explains that, just not in the manga anyway.
Yeah, I think maybe that was went on for longer in the light novel, the whole talking bit, but they sped it up for the manga.
Yeah,
but
adaptation syndrome is horrible sometimes.
But at the same time, I'm not sure I would want to read several chapters of him gargle dialogue.
No, but if it was in the light novel, it'd be you just hear his thoughts, wouldn't you? Just him thinking and stuff.
And I do like how much they put the emphasis on this guy. Yeah, he was weak to begin with, but his mind wasn't weak. He's quite intelligent. So I think the pacing is fairly alright plot wise.
So for context into how the powers work, when humans kill the monsters, they get stronger, but that's inefficient. But when he turns into a monster, because monsters get stronger faster, they absorb more of the energy. Because he turned into a skeleton, he'd level up faster.
And apparently, it says actually, it's not all humans. Some humans are actually quite efficient, and that's how some people become big, powerful heroes. Is their body's very efficient at absorbing magic. But apparently, Rent, I can't pronounce his name. Rent, his body was actually highly inefficient.
Yeah,
and that's why after 10 years he's still only a bronze. So I think they explain quite well why suddenly he goes from being the weakling to now significantly stronger.
It's because he's got the memories and the skills that he originally had. It's just that his body's not there to limit him anymore because he doesn't have it.
Yeah. And I do like that. I do like intelligent hero. Always nice, and I think throughout the 5 chapters it does show that intelligence. Like it doesn't. It's not like just a one-off thing here and there. It doesn't seem to have any kind of like goofy moments. He's consistently intelligent, which is nice. Because too many times I've seen him like, oh, this character's very intelligent, but then he makes some really stupid decisions later down the line, or here and there. So far, I don't see anything like that, and it seems to be quite consistent character. I also like the fact that even though he was this weakling, it's made very clear that he actually had a big impact on the world. Like the guild still allowed him to be a thing because his intelligence. He saved lives because he gave advice to people, and apparently he majorly impacted how much casualties there were and helped the city grow and all that, but he never received reward for it, which is quite sad. So I like the fact they do establish quite well. So I've kind of merged that a little bit into like the character section there. So I might as well just finish off his character bit, I guess, our section. He is, yeah. We've also seen that he's actually quite adaptable, which is quite nice. Like he does adapt nice, but not too quickly. But in a kind of level that you would see is realistic. Like it's okay. I'm not a skeleton. What do I do? What do I do? Oh well, I could do this. I could try this. He's very determined. Which you see him like before he even gets killed. That it's like, yeah, this is barely surviving, but I refuse to die. I refuse to give up, which is always nice. So very, very intelligent, very tenacious. I guess the character. So, what did you think of our protagonist?
Not just the main guy.
Yeah, the protagonist. Yeah.
Not a huge amount shown about him yet. But seems alright so far.
We also do get a mention that because there's the mechanics in this is like 3 fins, 1 spirit or something, which generally only like religious leaders can use other than monsters. But he can use spirit because it mentions that he was blessed. That was one thing that kept him. One of the main things that kept him alive all this time was he was apparently blessed by some deity or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like it mentions that it'll go into probably. I know because I've read further down the line. It goes into further detail on that later on. So in the other of the characters we come across in the first 5 chapters is Rena.
Main female lead so far.
Yeah. Although she does leave his side. I think chapter 4 or something. She goes on his on the
chapter
way.
5.
Hmm?
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5. She goes on his way and he goes, I'll probably see her again sometime. I can see her eventually becoming powerful. So I'm guessing we're not going to see her for a while. And then eventually she's going to come back more powerful. But from what we see of her, she's quite clearly reckless. She keeps going. She went quite deep into the dungeon, even though she quite clearly was not capable and has to be saved. But even though she's
using
quite
a sword against skeletons, that's an incredibly bad idea.
Yeah. And also apparently she's not even like a proper adventurer. So, although she is reckless, she does show that she's actually intelligent because she quite quickly realized the ghoul that saved her life is trying to communicate to her, and she actually then figures out and goes, "Oh, so you're an adventurer? Oh, well, I see. You must want some kind of way to cover yourself up so you don't get attacked when you go back to the city, and she helps him out. Although she did buy him a cursed mask by accident.
Yeah, that's the only thing that saved him, though. If it wasn't
Yeah,
cursed, he'd be screwed.
yeah, because they're like, oh yeah, why are you not showing our face? Oh well, it's cursed. I can't take it off. But so we don't get too much about her. And we do have a guild lady in this. Was it Sheila? We don't see too much of her. Other than all we get to really see of her is that she has a lot of respect for
She's
Rent.
his guild representative.
Yes, and she has a lot of respect for him because of all the lives he's saved. But other than that, and she's wondering where he is because she's concerned about his safety. That's all we really see of her. I'm guessing she'll play a bigger role later down the line. But she's the stereotypical helpful guildie who's fond of the main character, and we've seen it in quite a few mangas now. So nothing out of the ordinary. Her style does remind me of the Monster Hunter ones. And then finally, our main last character, who is clearly going to be a main character throughout the books, is
Lorraine.
Lorraine, who is the friend who actually told Rent about the monster evolution, and why he didn't give up because he remembered her words about it. She's a scholar who's very proficient in magic.
I think it
And
says
this
she's a monster researcher.
Yeah, it's this combination of magic and knowledge though seems to have made it so she's a silver tier adventure. And she did offer her home to him, like, oh yeah, you can stay here, but you have to let me research you, because we don't normally get to research monsters and like this. Although that would normally make you think that she's quite cold, but she seems to be very friendly in terms of Ren. So I'm gonna assume she's gonna be sticking with him throughout quite a lot of the story.
Yeah, she's
Down
the
the line.
main researcher girl, so she'll most likely, in the novelty bits, explain more monster lore to him that he doesn't know yet.
Yes, which would be quite a nice, I think, nice part of the novel or manga later down. If we can have like him encountering stuff and her explaining stuff. I used to know like the whole background of why monsters do these things. Sometimes that can be quite fascinating. So so she'll probably prove to be very enjoyable aspect of this series later down the line. But we'll have to see in that one because we only get to see her right at the end of these 5 chapters. Have you got anything else to say on the character front?
Not really. She doesn't say much, but Lorraine anyway.
No, again, she
She's the
came quite
character who would
close.
be more useful later.
Mm.
Because all he does in the entire chapter 5 is go get a new sword, so...
Yeah, which was necessary. that film was
It
knackered.
is randomly odd people can't... are not even suspicious that he is a ghoul at all. 'Cause you'd assume ghouls would have certain traits that no one seems to pick up on.
He is fully covered, but I guess
The guy tries to pull his mask off and says nothing.
he goes, okay, it's cursed mask, it can't come off.
But this must be
I
a
guess
universe where they don't have certain traits, then it's fine.
it could be also, I'm guessing, it doesn't really say this, but it might be the case that monsters don't leave the dungeon very often. You know, like in quite a lot of other mangas. And also he does communicate with them.
That depends what
Ghouls.
we're classing as monsters, though, because like
Mm,
there can be a lot of humanoid monsters that could be leaving.
yeah, I mean, we don't know how intelligent monsters can get yet at this point. So, and also he did have his ID. He had his ID card. So people went, all right, yeah, you're that person. Okay. And people know him, so him talking to him, they probably will go, oh yeah, it's him. So I'm guessing it's just that. Um, so move on to the art section. The art for this is a lot of like it's got some nice grayscale shading. A lot of the shading is rather than block, it's a lot of small lines. Quite good at giving the three-dimensional look. One of the pictures I'll put up for this is this. It looks amazing. And very much gives you a good sense of depth to the background, which sometimes can be quite hard. We get quite a lot of manga that you read, and the backgrounds look very flat, but they're quite detailed, and the depth of the field of vision and the depth perception looks really good on them.
They did try to make the skeletons more expressive as well.
They're very realistic. They're very well drawn.
But you can sort of tell what his expressions are even when he's a skeleton, so they've had to add that in.
It's I would say the art is very competent. It's very well detailed. A lot of time is clearly gone into drawing these. Like, you don't get loads of negative space. Like, sometimes you get in backgrounds, you get close up to someone's face and talking, but the whole background's completely void. You don't get a lot of that. You got like background in quite a lot of these shots. So a lot of time's gone into this. Just flicking through the book right now. So I appreciate that. So this has been quite a straightforward one. We'll get on to the design then. The design aspect. So we'll start off Rent himself. The skeleton aspect, obviously, he's just a skeleton. His human form, we don't see too much details of him in his human form. Once he turns into a ghoul, he gets this shortly after, gets a black hooded overcoat with a skull mask. And that's pretty much from the covers of other books. This is a design that will permeate throughout quite a lot of the story. It's quite a simple design. It fits the situation the character's in.
I've read a little bit ahead in my random research bit. He does keep not the full mask, but at least part of the mask for like 5 volumes.
I know why. Because I've read ahead. I think he's able to undo part of the curse of the mask, but not the entirety of it. Either that or the fact of his he recovered part of his flesh, but not all of it, or something. But again, that's jumping ahead.
It is kind of on the nose that she bought him a skull mask.
Yeah, it is a bit, isn't it? It's just
really
like,
on the nose.
Skull mask. Oh. I mean, it was free copper. I didn't think that was suspicious in the slightest. So not much to really say on his design. It is fairly basic, but works. I mean, I would think that the overcoat would get in the way in sword combat, but I guess he's got a lot to cover up. So Rena's design is, I'm not a fan. It's a bra, a miniskirt, tights, and a cloak with some metal knee pads, which are a bit pointless when your organs are very blatantly an easy target.
It is very standard adventure in other shows, though. So
it's a bit. I would say it's a bit more worse than that because it's not even like a tank top or something. It's literally just a bra.
Depends what class she is. It doesn't really state. If she's light warrior, then it sort of makes sense.
She's a knight.
No, she's not.
No, it says she's a knight. She's
an adventurer E class. She's not a knight.
Yeah, but she is. It says that she's from a knight family or whatever, and she's a knight or whatever. It mentions something about being a knight or something, or she's trying to become a knight, but which is a bit of a stretch considering it looks like she's wearing a dancer's outfit. Like I said, the miniskirt is one thing, but the fact that it's not even like a chest or torso piece, or even like I say, it's not even a sports bra. It's literally just a basic generic bra. It's like, who just goes out wearing just a bra? I mean, especially after you got the main guy and the other characters.
In these sorts of shows, tons of people.
Yes, But this is not like that. All the other characters are wearing. Every character we've seen, even like the basic NPCs, are wearing actual proper clothing. She's not. She stands out because
That's the
she's
point.
wearing
She needs
such.
to stand out.
I mean, she'll stand out because she'll get impaled in no time, just like that.
There's healing magic in that world. She's fine.
I don't mind like a little bit of fantasy, but it's just they could have done a little bit better on that. Sheila, the guildie, is just a traditional guild lady. I mean, there's not much really to comment on that. If you've seen any of the manga with guilds and the guild lady, you've seen this. If you played Monster Hunter games, you've seen this.
It's
not much.
It's just the generic business suit outfit from like Goblin Slayer and this sort of stuff.
Well, I think it's a bit more fancy than that, but yeah, it's like I say, it's a guild outfit. I mean, it's not anything special. So the more bigger design here be I'm not so bad at pronouncing her name. I'm not good at L's. She has a bit more original design. She's wearing like a posh evening dress, then with a big like scientific overcoat over the top of it.
Yeah, because she's a researcher lady.
But the overcoat has these three big, massive clasps on the front. I don't know what's up with them. They're just a bit OTT. Like, why do you need big, giant, like padlock side clasps?
Because rule of cool states: the more belts you have, the more cooler you are.
Clearly, it looks like it took us some inspiration from Final Fantasy. Like there's padlocks everywhere. She shows some skin at the top, but it's not too much. It works. I get from her design and from some of the dialogue that she's supposed to look like a bit like she's a manipulator to some degree. That's the kind of impression they're trying to give. I feel this kind of like, yeah, like I'm trying to get your attention in one way or another. But I think it works. I think because she's not a warrior, she's a mage, and then like I said, you only get like the top like shoulder area which is revealed. It's a bit different, but I think it works. And it's not too. It's simple enough in a way that they could probably draw it quite, get the details on without having to spend too long doing it, which is probably why he's designed it like that. Same with probably Rent. Make this easier to draw.
You are right. She is a mage. She's also an alchemist, and Rent taught her how to fight. Apparently,
that'll probably be later down the line. I think
it is. I'm
trying to stick to the first 5 chapters. But she does mention
she was a mage or not to corroborate your stuff.
Well, she does fight. She does use a fireball in like chapter 5.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've just lit a fire, big giant fireball. Thanks. So
he's an adventurer. She's a scholar.
A scholar, that was it. Yeah. With a lot of powerful magic. So, enemies. We've only seen 2 enemies so far in this point, which is just skeletons, which are skeletons. They're well drawn, but they're just skeletons. The dragon is the interesting thing to me, which again will be on screen. It's very, very unique. They're like holy creatures in this world.
They've stated dragons are not monsters. They're a higher being, like angels divine sort of thing.
But we don't see too much of this dragon, but we do see the head, which is like a proper like normal like dragon head. It's got a big giant mane. It's got 2 humanoid arms and hands, angel wings, and a halo. I want to know a lot more about this creature. I can't wait to get to the point where it describes more about their existence and why, because this design is very fascinating. It's completely different to kind of like any kind of dragon thing
Which
I've
is
seen
one
before.
of the odd things, because on my random research thing, it's not actually described in the light novel. It's only shown in the manga. And a couple of the other scenes, it's never described really. So
I'm gonna guess this is a film this dragon's gonna reappear a lot later down the line, as you can't have it be the film that killed him and him never re-encounter it again.
Did he actually kill him, or did it just absorb some part of him which he needs to get back?
It's a good question. It may be also a possibility that this dragon, if it's a divine being, was acting upon a deity, and this actually was a blessing in disguise, and it was meant to be a blessing rather than a hindrance.
But then if that's what this dragon does, it could have feasibly done it to other heroes too, as a test or something, and it just so
It's
happened that he
possible.
had to live.
It's a very fascinating thing. I have to hope they get to this later on, because it's the thing I'm quite interested in about this thing. It's very fascinating creature. So I guess we're getting to the question of would we read more? Well, I've kind of bought this manga and I have a few volumes of it. So yes, I have and I will continue reading more. It's well written and well drawn. What else? Why else? Why would I not? What about you?
This is the thing for these sort of ones for me. Do I continue reading the manga bit, or do I just read the light novel instead?
But
So
you at least
I might
you're gonna
potentially read
continue
more
with
of the manga first, to a good 20 chapters in. Because then sometimes I like to compare light novel-y bits to stuff like that to see what they've taken out. So I might do that as well, but I'd read a little bit extra at least.
At the very least, it's caught your interest to
Well,
some
because
degree.
I know it's based on a light novel, I know it may theoretically end. Because a lot of series that I read are never going to finish.
Yes, you got a good point there, because
it will. Like, even if the manga doesn't end, the light novel probably will.
Yes, very true, very true. Too often, we've had this problem too often where manga's being cancelled rather than ended, which is quite sad.
So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about anyway.
So, I think that comes to our end of this episode. We like this manga and would recommend it. I think the following episode we'll need to decide on. I think I've got two in mind. So,
well, either that or like a spin wheel of we just do the one the gods have stated we're gonna do.
Yeah. But if you want to read up before we do this, the two which I do have in mind for the next episodes, and then we probably will go to like a random roulette system, is Babel, but it's a specific Babel one because multiple mangas called Babel. It is the one by Inune Nori Yoshi. That version of Babel, and the other one is ST and RS, which I'm guessing Stars was already taken, and it's a unusual manga. Not many people know about this one. It was done by the same guy who did the manga adaptation of All You Need Is Kill.
Or if anybody wants us to do one in particular, they can just comment about it, and we can do them.
Chuck us some money.
No one chucking us money. It's fine. Right,
but I won't say no. I won't say no to that. Anyway, until next time. See you later.